Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. I have a very, very special guest here for the show today. Can you go ahead and announce to the world who you are and where you're calling from?
Hi, my name is Brian Ramakko, and I'm calling from Jakarta, Indonesia.
Great. And where is Indonesia for those who don't know?
Oh my goodness, it's a bit north of Australia, south of China. Actually, it's very close to Singapore.
Great. Tell me about the culture there before we go into the science.
So it's really really neat. You don't actually see a lot of Indonesians outside of Indonesia, and it's the fourth most populous country in the world. It is very Americanized. Everything you see, you recognize it. Asia has sort of skipped over credit cards, so everything's paid for with a cell phone here. Uh,
Wow.
yeah. They eat very unhealthily. They actually hate vegetables. So I was
Oh,
I was looking forward, Asia, vegetable stir fries and things, rice stir fries. Well, fried foods for sure. Fried vegetables, no.
wow. I guess that's their culture, right? That's
Yeah.
what they do. Okay. Now, what is your title that you hold, doctor? I didn't had a lot of doctors on my show. What is your title?
So my specialty, my certification is I have a few certifications, but the big one is neuromusculoskeletal medicine,
Okay,
and
is that
that
like muscular neurons? I asked you this before, but I gotta know.
so there's muscles there, there's nerves there, there's a skeletal system there. This specialty used to be called an orthopedic specialty. But then too many people thought orthopedic surgeons, when in fact it was orthopedics in terms of diagnosis and orthopedic testing. So this specialty is a diagnosis and management specialty. If you're familiar with the show House, where he has that
Yeah,
department,
I
yeah.
love it. Oh, yeah.
So, so his department was to solve problems that other doctors couldn't solve, and that's actually what my specialty is. I can consult with other doctors if they have a case that they can't solve, and in my own practice, like I'm trained, so my knowledge and training for diagnosis and management is one step above what people come out of school with. So,
Wow. I congratulate you. So tell me, like, what give me an example of something that you solved. Do you deserve to like go to law? Like okay, what I'm trying to say is this. Do you want to go to California and actually sue the company house for doing what you do? I'm just kidding. No, the real question is, tell me, have you solved a case so far? Have you solved a case so far that was pretty, you know, quiet? Nobody, no doctor actually knew what to do.
oh, dozens,
Tell me what.
if not hundreds. So I'll pick one. Oh, there's so many. So this person scheduled for hip replacement surgery. She's 70 years old, but in excellent health, very fit, trim, skinny, worked out every day of her life, and scheduled for a hip replacement. She actually came to me for a headache. Um, but we ended up talking, and she talks about having to schedule this hip replacement. And as I forget what I was doing with my hands, but I was doing something else. And I asked her out of curiosity because I know a lot of doctors mess up the diagnosis for hip pain. So I asked her more about her pain, and she's like, "Yeah, it shoots down my leg." And I was like, "Shoots down your pain? Pain shoots up in your leg? That's not arthritis pain. Arthritis pain is inside the joint, and it stays there. It doesn't go down the leg."
Mm,
It was like, put things on pause here. Let's figure this out.
yeah,
So
yeah.
she hadn't slept well for a whole year because she couldn't lie down and be comfortable because of this hip pain.
All right.
And it turned out to be, it sounds silly. It turned out to be myofascial trigger points. Turned out to be muscle knots.
Now, explain what that is for the people that only know what a myocardial infarction is.
Yeah. So myofascial trigger points is the fancy, like a muscle knot, a painful muscle knot. Now,
Understood.
everyone has tight spots in their muscles. I'm sure if I start feeling my shoulders, I'll find some tender spots. But there's a medical condition when these muscle knots become painful. And in particular, what's neat about them, it's neat or it's sad, is these muscle knots, the brain can be confused about where the pain's coming from. So the pain can spread. For example, muscle knots in the shoulder can cause pain above someone's eye. Pain that goes basically even past the knee could actually come from someone's hip. So sometimes finding these muscle knots is a little tricky because where they are isn't necessarily where someone feels the pain. And every time that muscle gets used, every time that muscle knot is pulled on, when the muscle is used, it can trigger that pain. Every time that muscle is stretched, it can trigger that pain. So you can imagine if someone has a muscle knot on the side of their hip, they lie down and that muscle stretches. Oh, that's painful. They flip over, try to lie down. They're now directly squishing the muscle knot. Oh, that's painful. And it's actually, I'm going to take control, and I'm going to say the solution for your audience. Myofascial trigger points are safely treatable at home. I have a YouTube video on it. I will tell them right now how to do it. So if you find a true myofascial trigger point, one of these nasty muscle knots, if you find it, and when you press on it, it'll recreate your pain, in particular spreading pain, because most of them cause spreading pain. You'll feel spreading pain. And if you find dead center, the most painful point, you push until pain reaches a 5 out of 10. Within a few seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, if the diagnosis is correct, the pain should start to drop. When the pain starts to drop, you dig in deeper, pain will drop, dig in deeper, pain will drop, until you'll notice that afterwards the pain is gone. It's called ischemic compression. You're depriving the muscle knot of blood. I think of it as you are punishing the muscle knot. No blood for you until you leave this poor woman alone. And it can be a permanent, semi-permanent treatment.
Can I ask you a quick question? Like all jokes aside, when I'm in pain, like what I used to do back in the day is pinch myself until I feel pain from coming from, somewhere else, and then the pain would actually reduce. Is
Yeah.
that's what you were saying, right?
Yeah. If you find the painful spot, if it's a muscle knot, then that's the treatment. That's the best treatment we have for that.
And you can tell you're the type of doctor that doesn't believe in just going all fours at pain medicine. Would you educate me on what alternatives there are out there to reduce inflammation and pain?
So you're right. I try to get people off drugs as much as possible, because someone's problem isn't a lack of, they're not deficient in opioids. That isn't their problem. So the best route is of course trying to find the real solution, and like the real problem, and get a solution to that problem. Because often they pick a diagnosis and, okay, it's just a diagnosis, right? Yeah, it's just osteoarthritis. The only solution is drugs for life. And no one's actually trying to figure out the real solution. So obviously trying to find the real solution is the top thing, which is almost works for everybody. It really, really does. The problem is the healthcare system doesn't allow for hour-long sessions, 2-hour-long sessions. We have to really figure it out. There are great physiotherapists out there who follow a regimen. This is the exercise that I was trained for. And then when the patient plateaus, because they often will, they're like, oh, well, I guess we just have to do the same exercise more and more. How many people out there? Yeah, I went to the physiotherapist. They gave me some squats and I got a little bit better. And then I stopped going, right? But they're supposed to be like, okay, we plateaued. So now what's the problem? What do we have to do next? If there isn't a positive change within a week, I'm like, okay, I have it wrong. I can get it wrong too. Not everyone's the same person. Everyone's different. Everyone's problems different, and overlapping problems. There's so many overlapping problems, and that can be the problem. I gave an example of solving someone's because it was a wrong diagnosis. It was just a muscle knot. Got rid of it. She slept well that night and every night since. But so many people have overlapping problems that they have one diagnosis and they get a little bit better when it's treated, but they don't get better because they have 3 overlapping diagnoses, right? So, what are alternatives? So first, solving it more accurately, the source of pain. Secondly, particularly for chronic pain, which is sort of my chief interest, is addressing the mental aspect of pain. Because pain is an experience. It comes from the part of the brain that emotions come from. Now, I don't want to dismiss people say pain and say it's all in your head. Well, all our emotions are in our head, right? If I chopped off your arm, your pain would all be in your head because we experience the world through our brain. So, so I don't want to be dismissive, but pain does involve the brain. Pain is a protection system. We receive a signal of pain if our brain is trying to protect us. Now, if I go to you and say, okay, I'm your doctor, here's an x-ray of your shoulder, there's a bone spur here, every time and there's a tear there, every time you move your shoulder, it's going to tear that even more. Even if there's nothing wrong with you, if I'm lying to you, your brain is going to say, oh my God, it's going to cause damage if I move. Your brain is going to recruit motion receptors in your shoulder, and those motion receptors are going to result in pain. You're going to feel pain every time you move your shoulder because your subconscious mind has learned that, okay, moving equals pain. We have a subconscious protection person at the back of our brain listening to everything that's happening, trying to protect us, and it can modify the pain response system. And so sometimes I have to work on that pain system. So, for example, I have some people, I just touch their skin and they yelp. Is touching their skin causing damage? No. So I know
I
if
don't mean to cut you off, but do you know about mental health? Like mental. Okay, I have a question. Is it actually insane to talk to yourself on a day in, day out? And then we'll come back to the pain. Is it like
no,
if you're saying I'm going to buy groceries, I'm about to do this, I'm about to do that? Like, is that insane?
no, that can be very helpful for people to have that conversation with yourself, to set goals. Um, I recently did a YouTube video on a self-image and the importance of self-image and cognitive behavioral therapy. Um, and yeah, you sometimes have to have that conversation. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm going to do. This is the type of person I want to be. This is what I'm going. Like thinking something can affect how you think and how you feel. And so there are all sorts of mental exercises that can help people that involve talking to yourself. So it's definitely not crazy, in my opinion, from what I've read.
Well said, Doc. And we're kind of going for time, but I still want to talk to you. So tell me more about let's say foot pain. I remember back in the day, the Chinese created something where you put something under your foot like a sticky thing and then leave it there for a second, take it off, and it has all this poison, like all everything that you take, in orally goes to the bottom of your feet and it's like poisonous. Is that true? Have you heard about that?
Yes, I am familiar. I worked in a medical spa,
Yeah.
and we offered whatever someone was willing to pay for. The spa offered that treatment. Um, that treatment is not based on current science. If it helps someone, by all means, give it a try. One of my best friends is a reflexologist and trained in reflexology. Um, there's some tidbits of some science that actually supports a little bit of reflexology, but not quite to the point that people say. And I'm trained in acupuncture. I'm board certified in acupuncture as well.
Does that help? Or
Um,
what?
it it can help with a lot of things. It can, but a lot of it, some people say, well, it's a placebo effect. You shouldn't do it. Well, if it's a placebo effect and still make someone feel better, give me the placebo effect. If someone can use a couple needles and feel good for a month instead of taking opioids, I'm all for it. I will say from using needles though that there is a definite some people who just say it's purely placebo. There is a definite effect at the skin level, at the muscle level. I can feel a hard muscle. I can put a needle in. I can see the changes in blood flow, and I can feel the muscle relax. and I can test their range of motion before and after using needles, and their range of motion has changed. So needles definitely have an effect. Does it affect someone's fertility if someone's doing acupuncture for fertility treatment? Uh, Uncertain about all the claims of acupuncture, but it does help for pain. On average, it helps for pain, and it definitely has an effect on the body.
Well said, Doc. Tell me other alternatives for anxiety, to try to kill anxiety at the core without taking benzos.
Oh, benzos. Uh, so anxiety, it's training or cognitive behavioral therapy. That's the word I was thinking of. CBT has the most research on it for actually almost all problems. Now, it doesn't have to be BCBT, but talking your problems to a certified health and wellness practitioner. And again, you can experiment with uncertified health and wellness coaches, life coaches. Those are unprotected terms. So anyone can call themselves a life coach, or they got from an online, 1 hour course in life coaching, and they can call themselves an anxiety life coach. So you have to watch out. They might be great, but you have to watch out. There is a certification for health and wellness coaching that can help. Obviously, we have our mental health counselors with their masters in counseling. And so you can see a mental health counselor, but counseling has been shown to help.
Well said. Is there any like that's the cognitive? They say cognitive behavioral therapy is like the gold standard. But what if somebody don't want to just read books? What if they want to start doing extra advancements? Like they have lights therapy, some type of light therapy. Have you heard about that? Can you talk about
Yes. Yep. Uh, so it turns out, particularly if you monitor the hormones in the brain, that a lot of the hormones seem triggered by our daily cycle. For example, not getting a blast of bright light early in the day can offset when your body produces melatonin, which is our natural sleepy time hormone. And so a lot of the light therapy is about getting an extremely bright light early in the morning, when the first thing you wake up and you sit in front of this extremely bright light for 30 minutes. Because we underestimate exactly how bright the sun is. We think that the sun is a 100-watt light bulb. No, it's like a 1,000-watt light bulb.
Yeah, because
So
we give off 100 watts to 200
yeah,
watts, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Continue. You can continue.
yeah. So it seems that we've evolved to be exposed to bright light from the sun. For a while, I lived in Victoria, BC, British Columbia, and so many people there suffer. Well, actually, I lived in Portland too for 3 years. So many people there suffer from a seasonal depressive disorder because it will rain for 29 out of 30 days. It'll rain every day, cloudy every day, and it's some people are much more sensitive to it. And actually, a lot of people in the clinic I worked in were prescribed lights because it's just there's not enough sunlight. They get
What
depressed.
can we do about that? How can we fight back at not having enough sunlight for our, our natural body response to not be depressed no more?
So there's a few things we can do. As you mentioned, we can buy these extremely bright lights. The other thing, even if it's overcast, outside tends to still be brighter than inside, even on an overcast day. So getting up early in the morning and exposing yourself to that light, going for that 5-minute walk, 10-minute walk, doesn't have to be long, but just exposing yourself to that light. Now, it's also oh, so I have I have diplomat status with the International Board of Lifestyle Medicine. It's a movement in the medical profession and the other health professions to coach on lifestyle changes to help people with anxiety, with depression, so we don't end up putting them on SSRIs and other drugs. How can we change people's lives just in general? And it gets into all of this stuff that sometimes we want to fix depression and we want to talk about light, but it might have, but sleep might be a part of this, restful sleep. And maybe it's diet, and maybe it's lack of exercise. Depression is linked to lack of exercise too, and lack of activity. And I'll say activity instead of exercise because you can have be active without having to stop and okay, I have to do 50 squats. It could just be a walk, right?
Well said, Doc. We have now we're going to move on to weight management. Um, I used to fluctuate with my weight, but now I drink protein shakes. I got a acai, which is superfood antioxidant. I drink that every day with whey protein and 3G energy or something to keep me alert. Tell me about ways to manage your weight.
So, oh boy, we could talk hours for that. I'll try to keep it to a few minutes. So, whatever diet works for a person, that's the diet for them. Because you have to have this attitude that it's not just for a week, it's not just for a month. This is a lifestyle change that I'm going to make. Now, in general, people who add more vegetables to their diet tend to almost accidentally lose weight because vegetables are have so much fewer calories, and so they replace something else that was bad. So one way to lose weight without starving yourself is to try to switch it for, even just adding in a meal of frozen vegetables. So adding frozen vegetables seems to be one strategy.
And
Another
why?
strategy.
Why? The people want to know why is vegetables such a powerful tool to accidentally lose weight.
So it does a few things. Oh, it helps diabetes a lot too.
Um,
So the two things it does is it's calorie poor. So vegetables have almost no calories in them. It's pure fiber and water and vitamins. So if you're replacing something which is 300 calories, you're replacing some rice, or you're replacing a hamburger with a bowl of vegetables, then that's much fewer calories you're consuming. Secondly, is the fiber. The fiber helps in the digestive process. It'll help with constipation, and the fiber actually helps with the absorption process and with sugar modulation, blood sugar level modulation as well. So fiber, it actually prevents cancer as well.
how does it prevent cancer? What can keep colon cancer in particular, right, or all cancers?
A gastrointestinal cancer, so large intestine and colon cancer. Now, I don't know exactly why. I know statistically it does, but exactly why it does that, I don't know off the top of my head. I'm not in the epigenetics. Epigenetics is what we have our genetic code,
Yeah.
but what parts of our genetic code we use can be changed. So how our cells behave can be changed. So some people are like, oh, I'm just fat because of my genes. Well, that's your gene expression. Sometimes our gene expression can change and our body can, let's say, not pack on all the fat. Our body can change how it expresses its genes. Oh, you're muted.
I'm sorry. I'm used to. Tell me what's so powerful about a genetic code, like father, mother, daughter, son, cousin, and etc. The makeup, if you can, whatever you know.
There's this. It's a hot topic about exactly how important genetics is, and it can be extremely important condition versus condition. And also, we have epigenetics, what codes get turned on and turned off. And it turns out that a lot of the toxins that we consume seem to be able to turn off genes. So even if you get good genes from your parents, your good genes might end up being turned off by toxins that we consume. Um, and then of course there's direct causes from toxins, but yes, our direct parents, we have how well we process drugs. There's a direct genetic correlation. Things we're allergic to, direct correlation. Obviously, height, weight, diabetes, and other types of conditions, heart disease. There's direct genetic. Now, it's not just genetic though, because if your parents overeat, then you're more likely to overeat too. If your parents have
Though, like we're going to use a really good example: alcoholism. Like you
yeah.
got a mother that's an alcoholic, but she never saw her daughter before in her life, and then the daughter don't know that the mother's an alcoholic, and she takes one sip, How does she find the urge? How does that happen, that connection?
So it's an addictive personality trait. And if it wasn't being addicted to alcohol as well, they might have become addicted to gaming, video gaming, or cigarettes, or something else. Now, I want to talk about food uh, because we want to talk about losing weight still. And there's one thing that actually helped me. At one point, I was actually gaining weight. I know I look skinny now, but it's this attitude, and this is a problem in the States. Now, the food here in Indonesia is terrible. It's all fatty. It's all fried. It's rice and chicken, fried rice, fried chicken for every meal. They eat fried rice and fried chicken for breakfast, literally. But people here are skinny because they eat very tiny meals. They eat very tiny, unhealthy meals.
Okay.
One of the things that changed my life when I started to get fat was a simple idea. It doesn't work for everybody, but it was, we typically in North America, we eat until we're stuffed. And if we still have food on the plate, we'll fit it in. Oh, there's only two more bites. I'm not going to throw it in the fridge. But if you're trying to lose weight, those two more bites, they're better off in the garbage than in your mouth.
I agree.
And what I did, and what I advised the patients, and what a lot of people are advising now, is to change the mentality that I'm going to eat until I'm not hungry instead of I'm full. And it's a different point. And it
Don't you
takes
stretch, don't you stretch your stomach when you do that?
no.
Okay, go ahead.
But I'm also going to say how I do it. So you eat half of what you normally eat in a meal. Then you take a break for 15 minutes, because it takes about 15 minutes for some of the hormones to produce messages for you to realize whether you're hungry or not. If you're still hungry, you can eat more. So I'm not saying starve yourself. I'm saying eat a little bit. If you're still hungry, eat more. You don't have to starve yourself. But it's a different ending point. The ending point becomes, oh, I'm not hungry anymore, instead of, yeah, the plate's empty, or, I can't physically stuff more in. And I ended up eating about 40% less, and I wasn't starving myself.
Well,
So for me, it was very simple.
I I have one more question to squeeze in, and thank you for that educational. You're on fire right now with everything, and I sometimes I like to be wrong because I love to educate myself, and I love having doctors on my show. And I don't know if you know about the next two questions I'm gonna ask you, but it's about life after death. I watch shows that talk about there is life after death. Tell me about what you know based on you getting degrees above every other doctor. You have a degree, not in general, but you worked harder. It's only a limited amount of people that get the degrees that you have.
Yeah.
Tell me about what you know about life after death.
So, wow, that's quite the question. Um, it's unknown. There's a lot of unknown. I will say it's undoubtedly a positive. Faith is a positive. It is, there's research done on it. Faith is positive for yourself. It keeps you more positive. You find more meaning in life. And part of lifestyle medicine, that lifestyle medicine specialty, has 6 pillars, and one of them is meaningfulness in life fulfillment, and positivity. And faith can play a very important role in enjoying life and finding life meaningful. So many people get depressed when they retire, or when they approach the end. And the people who don't get depressed tend to be those with faith, those that can still enjoy life, those that stay active, those that stay in touch with their families. It can be such an important part. And actually, when I do consult my patients, I say, do you have faith? Do you believe? Do you belong to a religion? Have you been to church? Because that might be part of the key to getting someone out of depression, to gain someone to be more active, to gain out of that chronic pain. Pain can be in the brain, can to help them get out of that. Have you asked God to help you with your pain? So I'm not going to comment with after death, but I will say before death, the faith is important.
Well said. And last question before I ask you two questions unrelated to medicine. I read some. I looked on YouTube, and I seen about hospice care because all of us one day will get old. And I seen some miracles where a woman saw her husband that was dead. She was a geriatric. She saw her husband, started seeing herself like distorting and detaching from our realm into wherever realm she was going to next. And they say that usually happens before you expire. Have you seen something, like that before, or read something in a medical journal about that type of
So so
behavior?
so this is way beyond my specialty.
I'm
Uh,
sorry.
but it is the specialty of a of someone, a PhD professor that was at the university I did my undergrad in, and he's worldwide famous.
Okay.
And this professor was developed a machine as part of an experiment that
Yes.
would literally give people um, an experience, that experience of seeing God, or seeing the afterlife. And it was a machine. He could reproduce it almost on demand in most people.
I believe it. I
Yeah.
believe it.
So there, I know there's research into that field. There's a research into what parts of the brain are responsible for those experiences. Um, and lots of people do have those experiences. So I think that's all I can say on it, though.
Understood, and I thank you. And what made you want to do the musculoskeletal skeletal project, or being a doctor in that field? What made you want to do that?
So it became, so I think I went to one of the best schools that's out there, um,
Which was,
University of Western States. And well, in my field. And I felt coming out of there, you know what? I'm still underprepared. I still can't solve all the problems. I still have more questions than answers. Now, part of that is working in the healthcare system. You don't get enough time, but I still didn't have enough answers. So I need to be better. I spent 3 years studying, and I still need more. In fact, I am still studying. I studied today. So I have that neuromusculoskeletal specialty. I am certified in neuromusculoskeletal sonography, which is a very rare specialty among sonographers.
that's
So
like
I'm
sort of like ultrasound, but a sonogram type thing.
specifically for muscles and nerves. Um, and it's a rare specialty, but it's necessary to make diagnoses. So I have that specialty. Lifestyle medicine. I wanted to get that specialty, and what's a hot topic right now is functional medicine, and the next thing I'm studying. And
With functional medicine, which
so functional medicine has, now again, all fields, particularly specialties. Now I like to think of my specialty as very broad because I try to find every single thing that's wrong with someone. But within a specialty, you have to be careful because they try to see all your problems through that lens. A surgeon always tries to find a surgical reason for your problem. A medical doctor is going to try to find a drug that can help you with your problem. It has to be an organ. So functional medicine does have a problem that does tend to limit things to the organ systems of the body. That, oh, you have joint pain, it must be internal problem, not necessarily your joint. So it does have a fault. But functional medicine is to look at all the systems of your body, all of them together, to try to find what's bothering you specifically. So it involves sending people for many, many, many tests, lots of blood tests, fecal tests, saliva tests, genetic tests. So it's very expensive to go see a functional medicine practitioner. Um, and they do all these tests, and then it sometimes takes experimentation to see what your problem is. So I'm not sure how much I'll practice in that field. I don't like that's very expensive, but it's sometimes people hate it because other medical doctors hate it because it's expensive, and sometimes they still don't solve the problem.
understood. So functional medicine is it expensive now? Why is it needed though? What is so special about it?
It's special because sometimes it can solve problems that other people miss because they're digging much deeper into things. So yes, your medical doctor just thinks it's your kidneys, so just keeps on giving you this drug, or thinks it's, just keeps on giving you opioids. But okay, you're diagnosed with fibromyalgia, you have swollen joints, maybe something's wrong with your guts. Maybe you have a low level infection there. Let's do more tests, more tests, more tests. And you do, and they do cure people. Just like I find diagnoses that other doctors miss or overlapping diagnoses. If you do more tests, you will find people that have diagnoses that were missed. That one diagnosis masks another one. One problem masks another one. You have to get rid of all the problems for someone to finally feel better. So they do eventually, for most, well, maybe for most is a strong statement. They can solve problems for people that get missed, and so that's why I want to learn that specialty. And
Is there
and
any other specialties out there, Doctor Ramakko?
those, I think that will be it for me, because a lot of these specialties require yearly fees, yearly continued education requirements. So that's it for me. My name is already way too long.
I believe you. How many specialties do you have, and what are they again? Just for the people to know.
Okay. So all of my letters behind my name: DC, Doctor of Chiropractic; MS, Master of Science degree. I have a DINM, neuromusculoskeletal medicine specialty. That's an interprofessional specialty. Um, RMSK, registered in musculoskeletal ultrasound. Um, DIP, IBLM, diplomate status with the International Board of Lifestyle Medicine, and then I'm working on certified functional medicine practitioner.
You deserve it, doctor. Like seriously, I hate to have you leave. What piece of advice do you have to give somebody just starting out that just don't know what they want to do with their life, but they want to be in your shoes? What type of advice?
Oh, one thing.
You've done a dissertation. You this should be
So
smooth.
uh, your time is also a currency. So
Okay.
a lot of these things were expensive, but you could sit at home, watching television, or you could sit at home studying every night and getting something. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't have the money for that now. I don't have the time for that now. Maybe later. Well, maybe the time is now. So maybe that's what I would say.
And well said, Doc. And where do you
Because
see
this is my
yourself?
second career.
I
I was a
believe.
college professor before this. I used to teach physics.
Okay. Ah, that's a whole different field. Oh my God. I know it just 1% or 0.1% of physics, but it's an amazing science out there. And I don't want to hit you with that, so I won't say nothing about that. So I am so proud of you. I know you like, okay, you don't know me, but I'm being honest. I am proud of you, doctor. You're gonna do even more for a lot of people that doesn't know what's wrong with them. And they come to you to gather, information of what's going on because regular doctors don't know. They used to the realm of, like you said, the kidney infection, possibly let me just give them pills, fibromyalgia, so do you have the floor for 2 minutes? Last question before I ask you how to reach you. What would you just say? What do you have to say for 2 minutes to educate people?
So I'm going to plug myself then. I am trying to put all of my information that I have in my brain from all of my programs into books, and I'm trying to set the price of the books as cheap as Amazon will let me, so that as many people can get out there. I even have my books translated into French and Spanish as well. I only have one book done, but I have two more in the works. So you can check out my book. My first book is Pain is Not a Life Sentence. And it's more about just educating yourself so you can help manage your conditions. I also have some YouTube videos that hopefully are also educational. So that's where I would start, because I want to help people start.
Where can they watch your educational video? Y'all have to watch him. Where can they watch your educational videos, Brandon? Dr. Brandon.
So they are on YouTube. So if you just Google or YouTube search my name, Brandon Ramakko, they will show up. That's the name of the channel, Brandon Ramakko. In the resources tab on my website, www.drramakko.com, Ramakko. In the resources tab, it has almost all those videos are in the resources tab as well.
What's that? And how can the people reach you if they're beyond just your YouTube page? Is there any way to reach you?
Yes, through my webpage, they can contact me. I actually, at the moment, I take online consultations. They can talk to me. Yep.
For is it a free consultation? Do it cost?
No, it is a paid consultation.
I'm
Have to pay for those that learning somehow.
Yeah, you got to make a living.
Yeah.
Um,
I currently charge 85 US for 45 minutes.
that's very good. So, how can they reach you for a consultation? Do you have a number or a website?
The website is the best way. In the appointments tab, they can just pick a time and book it.
Understood. Okay, stay on the line, doc. I want to thank you guys for joining my show today. Oh my God, this doctor is amazing, and he's like Dr. House. His credentials is like unknown to the regular credentials that's out there right now. And I hope nothing but success for him. Y'all take care, be safe, and I'll see y'all another time. Bye.